Greetings, family, and welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
And welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. We thank each and every one of you all for tuning in. We ask that while you are watching the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. If you like it, you can even hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Also, make sure you leave some comments, right? And share this podcast with others as well so that they can hear the rich testimonies that our guests are sharing. Today, brothers and sisters, I was thinking, I'm not a millionaire, I'm not a multi-millionaire, I'm gonna say yet. But if I was to be able to give a monetary value to the relationships that I have with people, I think I'll probably be up there with Jeff Bezos, right? And today I have a brother who is one of the brothers that I feel like he's one of the people like a monetary value placed on the interaction of the relationship that I have with our brother and how I admire him. So we're going to hear from the testimony and the experience and the accomplishments of our brother. Many of you know him and some of you all may not, but if you don't know him, you're going to find out about him today. And if you've been on social media and if you've actually been on television, our brother was on a reality show once, right? So he's about the only Muslim that I know has been on a reality show. Not one of them Real Housewives or House Husbands of Atlanta. Our brother was on something that is positive. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, sir?
I'm fine by Allah's grace, man. Thankful for his grace. Thankful for his mercy. How are you and how are your family?
Oh, man, Allah is so merciful. My family is doing excellent. I thank Allah because to be in your right mind in this day and time with all the noise that's going on, it's because of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So every day is a great day to be alive.
And I'm so excited. I didn't introduce your name. This is our brother Patrick S. Muhammad from, as they say, that 1-5 in Atlanta, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The mighty 1-5.
Mighty 1-5, man. And make sure you give the believers and the laborers there the greetings on my behalf when you have the opportunity to see them. So I'd like to jump right into the interview. One of my standard opening questions is, especially for people that I've had on the show for the first time, share with us how you came into contact with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how you eventually became a member.
Wow. Well, Brother Willie, again, it's an honor to be on your show. And when you were talking about how you admired me, I thought you were talking about how I admire you because the love, the respect, the admiration that I have for you, your work, your ministry, it is true, my brother. So I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois, known as the Boogie. And my first recollection of the nation was in my Christian home. We would go get fish and spaghetti at this place every Friday. Every Friday we got fish and spaghetti, but it was just some black people. Really didn't know who they were other than residents of East St. Louis. Well, as I got closer to graduating from high school, my best friend, Reginald Muhammad, nicknamed Trub, joined something called the Nation of Islam. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, right? We read this book, Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, as a requirement in class, but I didn't know any Muslims at all. And so when he joined the Nation, I was like, wow, that's that organization, in the book with Malcolm X. Like those people exist in 1993. And so he joined the Nation and, I would go over and he would share a bean pie with me and, kind of slowly introduce me to the teachings. Well, one day, East St. Louis is not that big. One day he was selling papers on 25th Street. I can remember it vividly. I'm in the car with my mother, and she sees Trub. I see Trub. His family. So I say, Mama, pull over. So she pulls over. I'm in the passenger side. She pulls over, and Trub leans over, and we give him the dollar, for the paper, whatever. And as we pull off, she says, "Son, would you ever join that?" I said, "Oh no, Mama, that's for people who ain't got no God. I got Jesus, right?" And I laugh at it today, right? Because there was that interaction. I get ready to go to college. Trub gives me, or Brother Reginald gives me Message to the Black Man. More ceremonial. I take it. I'm in college. And Brother Wood, I went to Kentucky State University on a basketball scholarship. So my focus is I'm away from home. I play basketball. I'm in an HBCU. You know how that goes, right? So I'm having fun. Well, I'm in a class called Integrated Studies. The professors, I'm not going to say the professor name yet. The books that we have to read is They Come Before the Mayflower, or Before the Mayflower, They Come Before Columbus. And then my professor's name is Dr. Patricia Muhammad.
Ooh.
So I'm still not connecting anything, but all the assignments she's given, like the class is struggling, right? And one day I pulled down the Message to the Black Man off my shelf that had been up there for almost 2 years. I began to read the Message to the Black Man and realize this is what she's teaching from. And so I start going to class and I start answering the questions, and she's looking at me. I'm looking at her like, I know where you get this from, right? So fast forward, the Million Man March is coming up. We're in college. I don't really know, but I can kind of, we hear people talking about something. My Christian mother calls me from East St. Louis, Brother Willie, and says, "I want you to go to the Million Man March." I'm like, "Mom, I think I heard that's like with Farrakhan or something, right? That's what Trub joined." And she's like, "Well, if all them black men going, I want my son to go." Okay, so she tells me that. I'm starting to ask around the campus, like, anybody going to the Million Man March, whatever. Dr. Patricia Muhammad says, "I'll take y'all." Right? So now we're kind of getting some momentum. Like, okay, how's she going to take us? It's men, no women going to come, etc. Now, at this time, Brother Willie, I am the starting point guard for the basketball team. October 16th is Midnight Madness. That's the first, right? So I go to my coach, and this is how everything is lined up. I go to my coach and say, "Coach, I got to ask a favor. I want to go to the Million Man March, and it's October the 16th, 1995. And I'm bracing myself and really, honestly, hoping for him to say I can't go, so then I don't have to, attend this, blah, blah, blah. And he says, "Son, when I was in college, I went to the march with Dr. King. So I can't deny you going to the Million Man March. You have my permission and blessing." So he gives us, my mom sponsors me. He gives us the blessing. We have someone to take us. Well, then the university allows us to take the Kentucky State University bus. So now I went from a novice to the organizer on campus to take the students to the Million Man March. At this time, I'm a neophyte in my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. I convinced the Alphas to go. So now I got a bus full of black men going to the Million Man March. I'm dressed in all Alpha stuff. I'm not a Muslim. Nothing. Fast forward, go to the march. I know this is long, but I have to give my testimony.
No, go ahead. That's what we're doing. But
okay, so we get to the march. It's all we're there. I mean, it's so humbling, to be alive and to be able to tell this story of those of us that attended the march. Like, we know it was the greatest event in history, right? And so to be at the Million Man March with 2 million black men and feel that spirit, if we could capitalize that spirit right now, we could sell it better than vibranium, right? And so I'm there at the Million Man March. I'm experiencing the Million Man March. And then we hear from the minister. That was my first time hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan live at the Million Man March. No tapes, no. This is the first time live, Million Man March, right? And I can remember at this time as a Christian standing there witnessing this man who has at that moment the power and the authority to tell them, join the mosque or give me $100, whatever he wanted to. He had that power at that moment. And he told us to go back and join churches and organizations, right? And the mosque, but not specifically the mosque. And for me, I was like, what kind of man would do that when he could bring all that attention to himself, right? And I, at one point, brother, really, you remember saying, Farrakhan for president, right? And he was like, no, Allah is the greatest, right? Allahu Akbar. So I'm going to put a pin in the Million Man March. We're inspired. We come back. We get back to campus. Things are starting to settle down. And I asked Dr. Patricia, where are the Muslims? Like, I want to go to the mosque. Now, I got to put a pin in this because you'll understand this. At this particular time, she was not active, right? And so she tells me, and this is before GPS, y'all. This is 1995. So she tells me from Frankfort, Kentucky, you go about 25 miles down the BG Parkway, you get off on this exit, make a left, make a U-turn, go up 3 lights, back down this driveway. You know, she's just giving me some. So on a Friday night, I'm trying to get this guilt off because I gotta act like I'm pursuing this, but if it don't work, then I made my attempt. And so I leave on a Friday night. I drive from Frankfort to Lexington. I kind of follow the directions in my mind. I pretty much get lost. And so I see a guy walking down the street. So I kind of pull over. I say, hey, man, please pardon me. My name is Patrick. And, I'm in Frankfort and I was trying to find the Muslims. This brother, who is Brother Darrell, he is so excited. He's like, brother, we are the Muslims. Park right here, right? So I'm like, wow, this is a blessing. So I get out the car. He's so excited. He walks me in. Now, remember, Brother Willie, I'm coming from the Million Man March. This is my next experience with the Muslims, right? So I go from the Million Man March. I crack the door, and I know it's going to be like, 400-500 people in here. Even though it's a small building from the outside, I'm sure when I open this door, it's like 500 Muslims in here, right? So I open the door, Brother Willie, and it's his wife and his brother Thomas.
Wow.
And Brother Earl. And I'm like, wow. They so happy that I'm there, right? I'm happy to be there, but I'm kind of like, they're like, brother, you in college? I'm like, yeah, I'm in Kentucky State. I play basketball. They say, okay, this is Brother Willie. They say, okay, well, here's your student enrollment. Here's your actual facts, and here's your letter. You need to go back to Kentucky State. We need to see you Sunday. You need to have this letter written, and you need to recite.
Damn, you hadn't even raised your hand to accept.
Brother Willie, I don't know what was going on. Other than I think this is the way. They were excited. I was excited. I followed suit. I go home Saturday. I write this letter. I have no idea why I write this letter. I'm writing this letter. They tell me just write the letter. I write the letter. I memorized. I had just pledged, right? So I memorized student enrollment actual facts. I got it down pat. So I come Sunday for the mosque meeting. I come in. The brother searched me. I get searched. And then he said, sit down. I sit down. He sits in front of me. I give him my letter, and I recite the student enrollment actual facts, right? I got searched, and in that moment, congratulations, you are Patrick X. Now, of course, we know on the back end, some things that had to happen, blah, blah, blah. But at this moment, you are Patrick X. Brother Willie, Brother Thomas opens up in prayer and says, we have a new X, and we're going to bring him up. I was a Muslim all of 12 minutes, and I'm on the rostrum. And I have been here ever since.
Damn, brother.
Since. So I know that was a long, but I have
that wasn't. No, it's all needed, brother. And that has to be in my category of testimonies. That has to be the most unique one that I've ever, as soon as you came there, giving you the letter, there was a small study group. They was trying to get some people.
Man, trying to get them. And I became a very active student Muslim, NOISA. That's how I met Brother Ashad. He was in Phoenix. His email was sunsun16 at yahoo.com. So the NOISA is how I met him. All this is when you used to hit, the AOL.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I became, so I'm a Muslim now. So I don't know I got final calls on campus, Brother Willie. I'm selling chew sticks, bean pies, incense outside the calf. One, I'm popular already because I'm the startup basketball team. I'm the president of the frat. It was my campus. It's Kentucky State. It's like 2,500 people, right? So, okay, Patrick's a Muslim. I'm shutting down events. And, I'm gung-ho, right? I'm the new Patrick X. So, long story, I start going to Louisville because Louisville was the mosque, right? And so we would go to Louisville on Sunday under Minister Gerald. At some point, I became Minister Gerald's assistant minister.
Wow, right? I knew Brother Gerald, man.
Yes, sir. Brother Gerald, then I would go down, and Brother George is my captain. I would go down for Sunday mosque meeting in Louisville, which is 50 miles. He would then drive back, him, Brother Edward, and Brother George. They would drive back to Kentucky State because then we would do a study group on campus after the Sunday lecture. And so we got up to like 30 people at Kentucky State every Sunday attending our meetings. So he would teach there, and so I went on for another 2 years there. And the funny thing, after my first Savior's Day, which is 96, my first Savior's Day, when I get back from Savior's Day, I get this letter in the mail. Well, congratulations. I'm like, I've been a Muslim, right? Your letter has passed. I thought my letter been passed.
Damn, but it didn't. They were trying to get people. Man, that is
yes.
But praise be to Allah, because some people wouldn't have made that. You know what I'm saying? So
that's right.
Your constitution and how you were meant for this. How did your parents respond to that? Because go from I got Jesus, right, and even a brother who you knew who was in the nation.
Yeah. So when I came home after I'm Patrick X, I remember, getting some break for basketball. When I come home and I tell my dad, I said, Dad, like I'm a Muslim. He's like, what do you mean you're a Muslim? I'm like, I'm Patrick X. I am not Patrick Smoot no more, right? And he was like, okay, son. He gave me a hug and he was like, okay. He's like, well, you need to go tell your mom. So I remember walking into my mother's bedroom. She's happy to see me because I've been, been in school. She I went to the Million Man March, right? Because she sent me. And I was like, hey, Ma, I'm a Muslim now. And she was like, baby, was Jesus not good enough for you? And I was like, no, Mama, I think I understand Jesus even better. And she said, well, if this is the best thing for you, I'm okay. And my parents' support of me in anything I've ever done, they've always supported me. But in this most critical decision of my life at that time, there was no fight, right? There was no, casting out the devils. Or there was like, if you believe that this is what's best for you, then we are going to support you all the way. And so I remember my sister, Robin, my middle sister, may Allah be pleased with her. She was in Atlanta at that time. And I had just, of course, I joined the frat or whatever. She was like, is this a fad? And I was like, no, that's not a fad. This is what I'm going to do. She said, as long as it's not a fad, then I will support my brother. And my family has supported me now 30-something plus years, as a Muslim.
Praise be to Allah.
Almost 30 years. Yeah.
Yo, they put you on the accelerated processing class, brother.
Yes.
Literally,
and I'll
make all men and boys join the FOI.
And I will say this, Brother Willie, in my experience, now it worked for me, but what I would say in my experience, sometimes we give too much rope. I know in Atlanta, being an assistant under all these great ministers, I remember standing in front of the roster months and months and months and years, and knowing I have these guests in front of me that's going to be the first one to give $100. They're going to be the first, but they never process. but they were staple front row charity, and we just allowed them to be amongst us, soaking up these great teachings. But there was never that pressure, like, are you going to join this? And when we would do acceptances, they'll be polite and clapping, but they never got up, right? And so sometimes we give too much rope, right? And we allow people to utilize the teachings without the commitment.
That's a very beautiful testimony, man. And that's interesting. I had no idea that happened like that. And Brother Gerald was my brother, one of my many. I'm gonna definitely reach out to him. He'll be excited to see this actual interview.
Yes.
And as we transition from that, one of the things that I came across while preparing for this interview, we know that you are also a principal and a farmer, right? But what was interesting, that in addition to you hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talk about us acquiring land and growing our own food, you said that you're doing that, which we're going to talk about later in the interview, was also a fulfillment of a desire that you had as a child to acquire our 40 acres in the mule. And we know that was something that was promised to Blacks who were freed from slavery after slavery, but it never came into existence. Can you talk about, how old were you when you had that desire? And how,
my mom tells me I've always been fascinated with animals and have a relationship with them, not weird relationship, but I've been around dogs and cats and that kind of stuff, right? And I would tell my mom, when I get older, I'm going to have a house so big, I'm going to have a dolphin in my backyard, right? And nobody in East St. Louis ever told me, like, boy, you can't have a dolphin in your backyard. You got to have, an ocean. Like, nobody stuck that needle in my head. And so as a child, that's how my vision was. Like, I need that much space. Brother Willie, it was to the point to when I went to college and I sat down with my coach and we were doing my plan, my degree. Now I'm scholarship player. That's the move. I'm on campus, right? We sit down. He said, son, what are you going to major in? I said, marine biology. He said, you in Kentucky. Boy, ain't no water around here. It's no water around here. What are you talking about? You want to be a marine biologist, right? You want a dolphin? But that's where my mind was. I was never confined to what we're proud of it, but the 89 blocks of East St. Louis, right? And my family supported me having these attainable wild fantasies. And listen to that word, attainable, right? Sometimes we allow our children to have ambitions, goals, desires that we know are really not attainable, but having a dolphin and having a lot of land is attainable, right? And so I can remember my grandfather, who, I am second or third generation of preachers. I don't know where I get this long-windedness from, but it probably has something to do with that. And I remember my grandfather and his farm, and he would pull up with his truck, Brother Willie, and he would have these buckets of potatoes and beans all in the bed. And we had to get the bucket. We'll sit on the porch with grandma. We would shuck peas, right? And we would peel potatoes. But granddaddy never took us to the farm. We just saw the fruit of his labor, but never experienced that labor. And, granddaddy was the kind, granddaddy didn't say word. The only time we heard granddaddy talk was on Sunday on the rostrum. Because he wasn't that kind. He ain't talk. When he sat down at dinner, he said prayer, and then you could eat after that. And after dinner, grandma got his plate. He went to his room. It was not a lot of, dialogue happening in his home, but he was a man we revered because he was full of the Spirit of God. And so those, intricacies of my childhood allowed me to not be limited in my ambitions. And so I can't pinpoint it, but those experiences definitely shaped it.
And when you heard about the 40 acres and a mule, with your experiences, you were like, I'm going to get that one day.
Yeah, but the 40 acres of the Muse. Now I grew up in East St. Louis. Now we are a product of the East St. Louis race riots. We're a product of the white flight. You know, the poverty level was one. I didn't know that it was such a significant level until I got out of the city. Right. You know, when I would get out, you know, and they say, "Where you from?" I say, "East St. Louis," and people start, you know, looking. Hey, what did I just say? Right. I didn't know that we were the murder capital, you know, of the country for so many years. But I do understand if you do based off the population, of course, it's higher because we have a smaller population, right? And then I read this book in college, Savage Inequalities by Jonathan Kozol, right? And the first chapter, Brother Willie, is The Life on the Mississippi about East St. Louis. Now, I'm in college reading this book about East St. Louis, and I'm reading him describe it. And I'm like, man, was it really that bad? Yes, we were surrounded by Monsanto, Pfizer, the stockyards, and the muddy Mississippi. But that was I didn't know what Monsanto was and Pfizer. Now I know what it is. Wow. There was sections in our city, Brother Willie. Some of the projects were in this bowl. I can't think. I almost called the name of it. But they sat in a bowl. But they sat in a bowl not too many miles from Monsanto. And so can you imagine the runoff there? So yes, we knew children that had defects, but we used to just call, you know, but they had defects based off the proximity to Monsanto, right?
Wow.
And so, you know, those experiences as we get older and we mature, all those experiences shape us. And you know, that 40 acres in a mule frustrated me because this was something that was owed and promised and then given and snatched back, right? And so I knew at some point I'm going to get it back. I just didn't know the means, the method, you know, of the strategy.
Man, the beautiful thing about that is you being raised in an environment that encourage your wild dreams that are attainable. And you know that does something. And look at you now. So we know that you also have a farm, and we're going to get to talking about that. But I want to ask you this. You know, that's a major accomplishment, and I imagine during this journey it wasn't easy. So what challenges did you face along the way, and how did you overcome those challenges? Because I know you had some.
Yes, sir. The first challenge is, you know, in our community, you know, when I said, oh man, we're gonna buy a farm, people are like, bro, you are tripping. What are you talking about? Don't nobody want to be on no farm, right? And then we associate farming with slavery, right? So everybody's like, man, I ain't picking no cotton from the white man. And you know, this is at that point, this is 2013, right? You wearing cotton, you got on cotton right now, right? And so we were blessed to hear in the Time and What Must Be Done series by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, number 36, Farming is the Engine of Our National Life. Brother Willie, at the conclusion of that video, my life mission was sealed. And I remember turning to my wife, Sister Ishtar, and I was like, the minister told us to buy land, right? Not the whole nation. He was telling us directly to buy land. And if you go back on my social media, almost that next day, I'm saying, buy land. I'm looking for land all over the place. I'm driving around. I convinced the captain to let me present in front of the FOI. I done found 100 acres that we could buy. I done negotiated a deal with the acreage. I'm just mission oriented. We need to get land, right? And I don't know if I had just the nudge in my back from the 40 acres in a mule, or the nudge in my back, you know, from the trials and tribulations of growing up in East St. Louis. But I can tell you that was my mission from that point to this point. And so, you know, after you kind of get from the hype or the excitement, it's kind of like, okay, what's the practicality? Like, how do you buy land? Right? I don't know what the USDA really stands for, other than some acronym that you hear. I don't know what the Farm Bill is. And so we had to do some significant research to even be able to wrap our minds around and our resources around on how do you do this. And I have to give this shout out because it is very much in line to the success that we have. I end up running into a gentleman that I mentioned that I was interested in acquiring land. And he gave me a phone number of a guy named Wayne Swanson. And I literally cold called Wayne Swanson with this excitement in my voice about, hey, man, I heard you got land and I want to learn. And he was like, all right, man, I see you Saturday. Come by my house. And that relationship, that friendship, that mentorship was the key to going from idea, excitement to practicality, because his family owned 36 acres at that time, not too far out of Atlanta. He allowed me to walk his farm, allowed me to pick his brain. And before I left, brother, we'll listen to this. Now, this is a Christian. This is not a Muslim. This is a Christian. Before we left, he said, if you're interested, if you come and help me, I will show you everything that I know. And to this day, if we don't talk twice a day, we talk 4 times a day. And that was the beginning and the birth of Your Faith Farms.
Praise be to Allah. That's a great transition. You mentioned as it talks about the faith farms, right? So just tell us some more about some of the things that you have accomplished, because I remember talking to you at one point. There was a section of the farm that you were renting out to a children's soccer thing, and it's always been growing. And I know Brother Patrick here in our city, he has cattle, and he told me one time he was driving up there to buy a dog from you that's for the security. So what are
at
some
3
of the
o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, 3 in the morning.
Well, just know we moved from a 30-foot subdivision property, and I mean 15 feet in front of the house, 15 feet in the back of the house, to 31 acres with no formal training. Our formal training was time what must be done number 36, right?
Wow.
Right. Our experience with Wayne, the minister did that lecture September 2013. I want to say September 17. I want to get it right, but it's September 2013. December 8th, 2013, Brother Willie, we bought 8 cows and put them on Wayne's property within 2 months. And July 29th, 2014, we moved to the 31 acres. And so this is fast forward. I mean, this not a year. This not, crossing all the T's. We ain't got ain't no dots or no I's. We boots on the ground, right? We here. And so that first couple months, I didn't have a lawnmower because I had lawn care. I'm a principal. I got a lawn service, right? I had a lawnmower. I didn't have a truck. I had a Mercedes. I'm picking up hay in a Mercedes, right? So this is not playing, y'all. I'm talking, this is faith. And so now my 8 cows had turned into 12 cows because they're pregnant. So we got them here on the farm. And that first winter, Brother Willie, we had no grass left. I didn't know what hay meant. I needed hay to feed them in the winter. Didn't understand that at all. And so that first winter was tough because I'm shelling out money. We're just raising cows. We ain't selling nothing. So I'm feeding big dogs basically. And they eat good, right? We got pets, right? They ain't grown nothing in the garden. We ain't planting no fruit trees. We are 6 months in on 31 acres. Right. And so that next spring, one of my friends, my children were playing soccer at a place. They lost their soccer field. And the gentleman comes up to me and he's like, hey, Pat, can I store my lawnmowers here? And I'm thinking like, yeah, you can store because I need to use them. Right. And so he stores them here. I'm using them. I'm finally cutting my grass because y'all imagine now 31 acres growing. And how long it takes you to cut 31 acres with no lawnmower. I ain't cut it. So I'm using his equipment now. And then one day he's kind of stressed. He said, hey, man, I'll go cut that down there for you. So Brother Willie, he cuts the furthest part of my acreage. And it's about 7 acres. So he cuts it and he comes back up to the house. He's like, hey, man, you know that land is flat down there. And I'm thinking like, no, I don't know it's flat because I ain't never cut it. And he was like, I'm gonna go cut the other side. So he goes and cuts another 2 acres, right? So he cut 9 acres. So he comes back up. He's like, the other side is flat. And I'm thinking like, no, I don't. But okay, thank you for telling me. And he says, do you mind if we practice our soccer program over there? And I'm thinking like, do I get a chance to keep using the lawnmower? If so, let's do it. So we fenced that off, put electric wire so the cows won't go over. From that experience, we ended up running that program for, I'm gonna say 3.5 years. And we had over 400 children playing soccer at our cow farm every week. Some children got, some girls got college scholarships from that program. And when you don't know what you don't know, right? This is where faith steps in. Right? I needed that grass cut, right? I needed some relief because I couldn't figure it out. Now I have equipment that I can't afford to buy that I can use. But in what should be a trial, look how many lives we're able to impact positively, right? And from that, which could have been a negative experience, that alone set us up in the city. A good name is better than gold. To this day, when you say Muhammad, Patrick Muhammad, Ishtar Muhammad, your faith forms in this, I have children that were 4 and 5 that were playing soccer back then that are my students. The parents that were on my interview panel for my farm charter school, Brother Willie, when my camera came on for them to interview me as the new principal, they said, whoa, we know him. My children been playing soccer at his house for the last 2 years. Oh, that's a good guy, right? Wow. So when I'm gonna give it to you this way. My mom would say, son, the only way you can walk on the water, you got to get out the boat.
The boat. There you go, brother.
Right. And so this has allowed us to get out our boat.
Praise be to Allah. And you just answered one of the questions I was going to ask earlier. You just stepped out on faith. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has mentioned, where the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that, if there's a man, 2 men, their car breaks down, one just sits in the car, one gets out and tinkers under the hood, people will stop and help. And that's as a result of what you were doing. Your help came, and it began to start every step putting you closer and closer to where you are now. So we're going to take a brief break, my brother. And then we're going to come back because you mentioned your wife's name. How do you say her name?
Ishtar.
Ishtar. And that's the next question that we want to talk about. And we'll be right back. We want to do these announcements. For those who are actually watching and who tune in every week, we thank you for doing it. And we just want to do some of our announcements. If you want to advertise anything that you have, reach out to us and we can talk about we can send you information about our advertising package. Trust me, it's very affordable, but you can help us with this show because there are expenses that comes with this show. So also, if you want to donate, make sure that you can donate as well. Also, if there's any person that you believe has a very dynamic testimony, and all of us have testimonies, reach out to us, submit their name. You're going to see the link in the description where you can just fill out the form, let us know, answer the questions, and we'll get back with you or reach out to them after we have our team to look at their testimony. We'll see if they can be a guest. In addition to that, here in the city of New Orleans, we're working to pay off our mosque mortgage. We started off asking for 1,444 people to actually to give $100 donation, and you see where we are now. We're constantly chipping. So whatever you can give. If you don't have the $100, give 20. If 5 people that y'all can get together and give 20, give the 100. But we'd appreciate whatever it is that you can give. All right. So now we're back and we're going to get ready to bring our brother back on. You mentioned, and even in the interviews that I've read in preparation for this, you talked about you mentioned the deep appreciation for your wife and her support in helping you as, in this journey. Because imagine you talking about leaving a nice house and then you're like, baby, we gonna have a phone. We gonna do a what? And that's a picture of you when you were married. We going where? We gonna leave Atlanta and we're gonna have a farm. So you can't do that without the woman, without her backing you. So just talk about her support and your appreciation of her for her support.
Absolutely, Brother Willie. So some people have been lucky in life. I've never operated out of luck, but my wife is my blessing. All right. So, moving to Atlanta, new city, coming of age, and you want to begin to look and to pursue, someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so I was blessed to, see her at some point. Actually, that picture that you have with Brother Herman on it, Mel, I'll be pleased with it. This right here, this is Gladys Knight event with Brother Herman. And there's one where he has that Prince hat on. But that was one of the first nights I can, vividly remember recognizing Sister Ishtar. And then, I would see her around the mosque and see her family. There was always a family. You see her dad, her mom, her siblings. And at some point in my quiet mind, I believe that that's the sister, for me, and how Allah put it in place for us to be around each other. My father-in-law, Brother Sammy, and I became extremely close, and the family actually embraced me, right? Being new in the city, at some point, her mom transitioned, my sister transitioned around the same time, and it was family. I had to become the other brother in their family. And I remember one day my father-in-law, Brother Willie, who was not my father-in-law at that time, he asked me, he said, son, are you ever going to ask for my daughter at courtship?
Wow.
I was like, so, when a father asks you that, that means that he's saying you already have my stamp of approval.
And he see that
Now,
it works.
Yes. And so I was blessed to get married to Sister Ishtar July 29th, 1999. From that union, she has blessed me with 3 triplets. They're not triplets at the same time, but
okay.
They are right. I know through y'all, but
I thought you were saying 3 triplets, like 3
right.
children.
No, but she has birthed, I would say, my personality 3 different times, and her personality 3 different times, and our daughter who is 24, our son who is 20, and our youngest son who's 13. And they say you can tell how much a woman loves a man by the children that she bears, right? And I believe she loves me. And so I said all that to say, to get to the point, any accomplishment that I quote unquote that's recognized publicly, that's because the person next to me, not behind me, the person next to me has built up so much confidence, encouragement, recitation, right? Because sometimes you need to be revived, right? And I'm just waiting now, Brother Willie, for that moment to where I fall back and she comes in the front, right? Can you imagine your new husband is the assistant minister of a regional mosque and the second officer at the same time of a regional mosque, assistant principal of a school 42 miles from the house, right? There were some years, Brother Willie, I would leave in the morning to go to work and, 42 miles away, leave work, don't come home, go to the mosque Monday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, and then of course Sunday, right? And those were our formative years, our early years, right? And having someone like I have that has supported me through our publishing company. Our publishing company is Rafsy, which is her name spelled backwards.
Published my first book. Remember?
Published your first book, yes, sir. And we went through all of those, navigating that. She's seen me go from a physical education teacher. Actually, I think from a substitute teacher to a certified physical education teacher to a assistant principal, to a principal, to a head of school. So she's been through that journey. And then she was willing to say, are we moving from our 3-story marble kitchen hardwood floors, double garage, subdivision life to a farm. I think a lot, brother, because if the other person on the end of any of those conversation gave pushback and like, brother, we ain't doing that. You don't lost your mind. You know, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. You say, brother, then how did you overcome the addiction again, brother? Because I know you got a testimony, right? It'll be a different testimony. Mm-hmm. But my testimony is there's nothing like a mighty MGT, and I've been blessed with one of the best in Sister Ishtar Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah, brother. And I hope that she sees this, and she will bring a smile on her face, because like you said, no men of greatness accomplish things without having a woman that's there to accomplish that with them as well. So my other question, I came across this picture, you know, it was inspired by to get the phone was inspired by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's word. So is the minister aware of your work? Has he been to the forum? And if so, has he shared any words with you about this?
Praise be. Well, I know without saying is, you know, who was the photographer, none other than Brother Don Enoch, Don. Right? Mm-hmm. Don Enoch snapped that photo. So, Brother Willie, in my assistant minister time, second officer time, I've been blessed to be the guide in the motorcade in the southern region for the last 20-something years. And so on the ministers, if not every visit, I might only miss one, I'm always in the vehicle in front of the minister, right? So I'm always part of the motorcade and that, you know, and responsible for his, you know, making the direction. You know, that's my responsibility. But I never met the minister. I'm in the car, but I don't have any interaction with the minister. We get the wave and etc., but that's the extent of it. After time and what must be done, you know, we stepped out on faith, and in 2015, we bought in 2014. In 2015, Sister Betsy Jean and the minister allowed some farmers to come to the Michigan farm, and so I'm there with the other farmers participating, you know, as a farmer. In the nation. I didn't get a moment with the minister, anything like that. So in this particular trip, the minister had gotten to a protocol or rhythm of asking the police officers to come up to the suite on the last day of his travel, and he would greet them or whatever. Well, at this time, he asked for the officer. He said, well, tell the whole motorcade to come up, right? So when you get that, you know, it's like, oh, Lord. Oh, what am I going through in my mind? Because the minister can read it, you know, everything, right? And so we go up there, and I'm going up there as the guide, you know. And I remember as they were going around introducing us, they said, oh, Brother Minister, this is Brother Patrick. He's your guide. And the minister said, brother, you're my guide? And I said, oh, no, I'm not your guide. He said, no, brother. They said that you're my guide, right? I said, all praise due to Allah, Brother Minister. Then someone, I don't know, I can't recall who, they said, Brother Minister, this is the brother who has the farm in Atlanta. And he says, brother, you have a farm? I said, oh, no, sir, Brother Minister. I said, you have a farm, right? Because you told us to get the farm. He said, no, brother. Allah told you to get the farm. And I said, all praise is due to Allah. And so that was that was the extent of the entire conversation. Since then, Brother Willie, there have been successes that my family has experienced because we followed the instruction of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan via Allah, right? Oh, let me pause right there. I did say to the minister, and I said, Brother Minister, we got the form from your instruction. And he said, no, brother, that's Allah's instruction. And Allah will tell you what to do next, right? Okay. And so since then, we've just been, you know, continue to be active and doing whatever. Some of the successes we've had from our television show, where we were able to build a home and give it away to one of my teachers, from our Netflix series. And Brother Willie, many people don't know this, but my family filmed a Netflix series where they followed us for 2 weeks. It's called Chicken Soup for the Soul, Being Dad. And they
Wow.
followed these dads all around the country for 2 weeks. But listen to this, Brother Willie. The day our series release was the day Netflix dropped The Minister.
Dang.
So what kind of Muslim would I be posting like, oh, look at my family on Netflix, and they dropped The Minister? So my family, we went hush. We didn't say anything. If somebody happened to be scrolling on Netflix and see our face and watched it, they did. We never publicized, because if you deny our man, and the reason that you even filming us is from his inspiration, and in that Netflix series, they interviewed me right here, and my wife and I talked about the reason we have this film is because of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, time what must be done, da 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 da. So it's all inside of our episode. Right, but when it's about to be no, ours was released. When ours is released, they denied The Minister, so we said nothing about it. And it'd be people say, "Man, I saw you on Netflix." I said, "Okay, all praise be to Allah, right?" And so from
something.
Yes, sir.
No, go ahead, make that.
And then from that to our, our John Deere commercial that's out. It's been out for a little bit, and the other success, and then the school that we run. We've been blessed, Brother Willie. A lot of people, sometimes when you give your testimony, it sounds like, oh, yeah. But let me tell you how Allah's hand is in it. Brother Willie, the home that we lived in for 8 years, our subdivision house, and the farm that we're on right now is a mile away. So we literally moved a mile away from our subdivision life to our 31-acre farm. Now watch this. The school that I run, that's an agriculture school, is 4 miles that way.
Wow.
All 2014. Like Allah set it up to where if you're going to do this, step out on faith, I'm going to show you. We got you. And so now the school that we run, that's an agriculture-based school, we're able to be the principal farmer at home, the principal farmer at school. And so to say, have I been able and we've been able to tell the minister directly? No. But we know we're on his mind. And we know our favor is because he's aware. Because the things that happen to us, that continues to happen, is because somebody is praying for us somewhere. Wow. And we believe that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah, man. That's a beautiful testimony, because look at that. While they thought that they were stopping the minister, here you got somebody that's worthy enough to be on their reality show who says, I'm doing what we're doing, which why you want to interview and follow up, because of the very man that you're trying to stop. And it's just a testimony to show that you can't stop Minister Farrakhan.
No, you can't.
Because where you thinking that you stopping him here, one of his students, one of his followers here, and what you, the whole reason why you're coming is because this man and his family heard an idea. I know they probably didn't put that in the documentary, y'all saying, but but we know what it is. But that's something.
And you know how it is. You know how it is. They film in your house. We got pictures of it all over
everything.
The place, right?
But I know they made sure that they edited all that out. But that just let them know, like, damn, this man is everywhere. You can't stop him. As we get ready to wind this down, one of the things that we do, Brother Patrick, on this show, and I actually got this from another podcast that's on YouTube, and it's considered to be one of the international and national most popular podcasts. He asks the current guest to leave a question for the next guest who you don't know who we're going to interview, right? But he also asks the current guest to answer a question that was left by the previous guest. So the previous person we interviewed was Brother Cedric Muhammad, who's in Atlanta by way of New Orleans. You know, Brother
Cedric Alfonso?
Yeah, Cedric Alfonso.
Oh, absolutely.
And he asked this question. So before you give us your question, I want to ask you to answer this question. He says, have you, and it's interesting that he asked this question and we're interviewing you. Watch how this question fits with what we're about to ask you. That's a lot, brother. have you determined what you specifically wish to do to serve Allah, the messenger, the minister in the resurrection of our people?
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's definitely a lot, and I would say that is contributing to Brother Cedric's routine and regimen of his reading of the Supreme Wisdom, because our brother is very studious, and he's a good brother. You know, they say there's no joy, no greater joy than a man or woman who's found their purpose. And it's extremely humbling. And I know you can bear witness to this, Brother Willie. Sometimes you'll get on the rostrum and prepare a lecture and begin to deliver that lecture, and Allah steps in and uses you to meet and address and get the people to understand these teachings. And when you finish, you know, you're done. You need to be, some recovery, but you know it was not you. It had to be Allah, because that was not your plan. And I know Allah is using myself and my family in this agriculture work. It comes so natural and so easy to us that you will believe that we have been formally trained. Right now, Brother Willie, I don't know, there's probably 27 horses out here. It's probably another 100 chickens over there. It's fruit trees and there's rows of vegetables over there. It's, trained livestock guardian dogs at the school, from the goats to $100,000 worth of greenhouses to like all this stuff that we get a chance to. There's no formal training. It's only Allah. And so it's so humbling because we know it's him. And so we can't get away from the purpose and the path that we know he's laid down for us, because if we follow it, that's when that footsteps, everybody got their footsteps poem in your house with Jesus, or with some footsteps walking on the sand. And like we know that our path that is laid down in front of us, if we could continue this, then our days will be favorable by Almighty God Allah. So I would say, I believe we have found our purpose.
I believe it, brother. And because how everything is falling in place with what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? And there's so much we're gonna have to bring you back on so we can talk more in detail, because there's so much stuff that you are doing. You know what I'm saying? And other people that you're helping, Brother Patrick. And I think I read in one of the interviews, I think you said, I don't know if it was maybe 30 other families or something that you all have helped.
42 as of this month. Yes.
To get farmland. And are all of them in the Nation of Islam, or is it a mixture?
Oh no. Some in the nation, some that are not in the nation, all over the country. Yeah, all over the country. Yeah. So, and yeah, I would love to get a chance to come back and just bear witness to when we just imagine we've only followed 2 instructions: Million Man March, time and what must be done. Right? How many lectures does the minister have to do? Right? How many books do you have to read? When you find your purpose, Brother Willie, some of the stuff that's coming down the pipe for my family is so like not scary, because we know where it's coming from, but it's like, wow, Allah, that too. Oh wow, Allah, that too. And we are very intentional to say, all praise is due to Allah. Right? This didn't come from Patrick and Ishtar. All praise is due to Allah. And when we stay as humble as our minister has given as the example he's provided for us, then Allah continues. I'll give you this one. I'll leave with this, Brother Willie. Sister Beverly, Sister Beverly,
Brother Tim.
Brother Tim. In one of our student ministry classes one day, She said, "You can force Master Fard Muhammad to give you more time on the earth by the good works you do today."
Mm.
If you ain't done no good works today, when they're going through that Rolodex about who about to cast off the burden of the earth today, whose number we gonna, right? If you you should be a little nervous. But if you do something every day of good, then it makes the God a little hesitant about taking you off the planet. Like, oh, this is a great contributor. I don't want to remove this contributor. Look how many people that they're impacting of good. Look how much good they're doing to you are not a burden on the earth. But if you become a burden, the earth has to
Are you
cast off
here?
this burden.
Beautiful, man, for sharing that. And let me close. I'm gonna close with this question because as believers, we often say, you hear us, we say, being it is, a black man is God, the black woman is God. But many of us never reach that it is stage, right? And sometimes it's for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's from paralysis by analysis. Sometimes it's a lack of faith, lack of finances, whatever it is. But but you see what I'm saying? You have, right? And you give all praises due to Allah, but you have. So my question is, from your experience, what prevents people from getting to the it is phase, and what advice would you give them quickly to help them to strive to manifest their vision, their desires, and accomplish their goals?
As a minister, I would say Allah defeated the impossible when He created Himself. Right. So we get that. Like, oh yeah, He gave us one. Right. Okay. Very practical. You will never be able to jump double dutch if you don't jump in the rope. I mean, the people are turning in your life. I mean, they're just turning. The opportunities are turning, and you sitting here, you still waiting. You ain't jumped in yet. If you believe that Allah is God, then nothing is impossible. But you can't, you deny the God the opportunity to prove how powerful He is if you don't do anything. You just sitting at home waiting on a mystery God to bring you food, clothing, and shelter. So I'm bearing witness as a brother who has zero experience, that has taken on 31 acres with no experience, thousands of animals. I'm responsible every day, Brother Willie, for about, I don't know, 115 mouths that I have to feed every day, not including the 540 children at the school, not including my own family, right? But the God proves Himself to us every day because we are attempting to do His will. And so whatever obstacle is in your path, you're not going to overcome it if you don't do what first? Meet it. So I would say begin to put, in your vision board, begin to put in your heart, begin to add it to your prayer, the desires of your heart that are aligned with Allah, and then watch the God work.
Praise be to Allah. And I thank you for sharing that. And we didn't get a chance, so you can tell us the question you want us to ask the next guest.
Yes, I have it. So my next question is, tell us the lecture, the book, the article that you could pinpoint is the one that converted and or convicted you to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Mine is proper preaching.
Ooh, that's a powerful lecture there, brother.
Yeah, a brother named Corey played it in the dorm, and I passed by his room and I asked him. His name's Corey Pettigrew. I asked him from Indianapolis. I said, "Brother, can I get that tape?" He gave me the tape, brother. It's the VHS. Brother Willie, I wore that tape out.
And that was after you joined the nation.
It's after.
Wow.
Yep. When I gave it back, he couldn't play it. But I remember the lecture by heart. I could give it to him, right? So
that's a powerful
proper preaching. Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you for all that you're doing, man. Give your family the greetings, my brother, and the believers there. And inshallah, we're gonna double. We're gonna spin the block, as the youngsters say, and we're gonna do this again, do part 2, all right?
I'll be honored. And Brother Willie, please give your family the greetings. Keep pushing, Brother Willie. You are an inspiration to the nation of Islam. Don't think that your work down there in New Orleans is not being recognized. Not so much be recognized by the powers that be. Allah recognizes, but your impact, right? You saw that picture I sent you. I'm sitting in Durham, North Carolina, in a random conversation, and you know how you say like who's in your phone, the favorite person in your phone, right? So when somebody say like I'm from New Orleans, I'd be like, well, do you know Brother Willie, right? Right? Because that's my man, right?
Praise
and
be
so
to Allah.
Time and time again, when I mention your name, right, the smile that comes on their face, the reverence that's attached to your word. A good name is better than gold, brother. So
Praise
continue doing
Allah.
what you were doing because Allah recognizes.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, my brother. May Allah continue to bless you. And inshallah, we're going to talk some more, man.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. And for those who are tuning in, powerful testimony that our brother gave. And I didn't get the opportunity to get his we put up the website, but just Google Patrick S. Muhammad Fate Forms and you will see what our brother has going on. So we thank you all for tuning in. And once again, we're going to sign off. And this is your brother Willie Muhammad. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share this interview and comment. Like, comment. Thank you all. Peace.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.